G'day everyone, welcome back again. Tonight we're going to have a look at the old Bedford and figure out why it's running like rubbish. It's winter time here at the moment and it won't idle and it's running very rich. And tonight we're going to look at cold and hot plugs. The plug on the left is what we call a hotter grade of plug than the plug on the right, which is quite grubby. Anyway, into it, we'll crank her up, you can have a listen and we'll go through and pull the plugs out and hopefully fix the problem. Starter on petrol at the moment. So I'll let the fuel pump up to the carb and a little electric fuel pump. Check she's out of gear. And a wee bit of accelerator and crank up. So she'll idle along nicely like this, but because I've got my foot on the accelerator, but when I back off she'll get richer and richer and eventually fail the plugs on me. So I just think the plugs aren't getting hot enough, so I'll drop it back to an idle. So that's running alright, but if we have a look at our fuel ratio, it's behaving, but I can guarantee in a few minutes it won't. Anyway, we'll let it warm up a little bit and then we'll pull the plugs and see if we've got any wet ones. Oh, this is an air fuel ratio meter. So when we're running on the open road, we're probably running at about 12, air fuel ratio of about 12.5, if I'm right. Slightly leaner for gas, but generally I run the gas pretty rich too, just to make sure I don't burn anything out. So she's starting to get pretty rich there now, so if we just so we'll crank up the revs a wee bit. There's a wee bit of a miss there. And that's the miss I'm talking about. So what we'll do is swap the plugs out and see if that goes away. She's still running a bit hairy. Yeah, it's definitely dropped the cylinder, you can hear it chuffing away. It's a bit hard for you guys to hear it, but I can feel it pounding through the floor, through my foot. Anyway, we'll shut it down and open up the engine bay and have a look. The engine cover's off and this is the beast. All 6 cylinders of power and no fury, or no power and no fury, whichever way you'd like to look at it, being a Bedford. What have we got here? A Zenith carburetor with the governor, overspeed governor on the bottom, and that comes up into our IMCO 425 LPG carburetor or mixer. So we'll go through and pull the plugs out now and see what we find. So we're just pulling off these leads here. There we go. And we're looking down the right hand side of the motor. And we've got 6 plugs down there, so we'll pull those out. Anyway, I'm sure you guys have seen people take plugs out before. We'll just take the first one out, this is number 6, and then I'll pull the rest out and we'll go through and check them. 6 plugs are out. If we go through and have a look at them, they shouldn't be that black, but they're that black because we do a bit of idling up and down the yard. We have to move it around sometimes, so it doesn't get a chance to warm up. But the problem when they go that black, they can actually arc down the side of the electrode. But none of them are wet, apart from one, which is a little bit suspect. But the fact that they're this colour, that you normally expect to see the top of the electrode there to have at least some white. So the fact that it's that grubby says to me that they are not probably getting hot enough. and none of them are wet apart from this one, which is a little bit, no, it's a little bit wet down the bum there, but when they get like this in the cold, from experience, they just don't fire properly. All the spark is sapped away down the side of the electrode. And this is number 1, so it's nice and grey too. So anyway, we'll slap some new second-hand plugs in it that I pulled out previously, and we'll start her up and see if it improves. So this is where we come to the Bedford spares department, which I've pulled a whole lot of crap out of this box. So these were pulled out about Christmas, which is the hottest time of the year, when I had a electrical problem, so we'll put those ones in. So these are the original plugs that came out of it 6 months ago, and if you have a look at that, that's what the plug should look like. See how white that tip is? I'll get a slightly better camera shot. So there. Now that's hot. When running on gas and it gets that hot, it made me a bit nervous that I might melt the tip off, but to be honest with you, it's been running like that for 10 years and I've never had any problems. So this is a slightly hotter plug. This is the colder plug, and you can see it's just not getting hot enough to burn all the rubbish off the tip there. So the numbers on these are, the hotter plug is the B6S NGK, and the colder plug is the NGK B7S. So there you go, we'll put in the slightly hotter plug and we'll crank her up and see if it behaves. Check the gap on these plugs using the old feeler gauges, and it's 27 thou, which is close enough. So I'll go through and check the remaining 5 and put them back in. So don't do them tight, nice and easy. I'll just go through and check those. I'll do this with my eyes closed because I've been mucking around with this thing for years. Okay, I'll put the plugs back on, spark plug leads, and I'll come back to you. Moment of truth. Our slightly warmer plugs are in, so we'll crank her over and see what happens. So that's the difference between the rubbishy plugs and the new plugs. She's running about 12 on the button, which is where I'd expect to see that idling away. So it's only been going a minute probably since you were just online a second ago. So that's good, that's what I expect to see. So at this stage I'll be sticking with slightly hotter plugs. So there you go folks, that's the difference between hot and cold plugs. I should add, the difference being I'm getting a full fuel burn now, so it's actually running leaner. So when it runs richer, the numbers are smaller. Before we were down at about 9, but now we're running up 12, nearly 13, which is giving me a proper fuel burn on petrol. One last bit, this is what the exhaust sounds like when it's firing on all cylinders. So there you have it folks, that concludes this round of fun for this evening. So that's the difference between hot and cold plugs by one grade. The difference between being a 7 and a 6. 7 being colder, 6 being hotter. Anyway, hope that was a bit of entertaining. What I'll do is run through the gas system sometime and how that goes. We also have electronic ignition down there and a dual fuel curve computer on her. So for an old 1960s technology, it runs sweet with all the new computerized stuff on it. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you another time.